Good evening. It's 5:30, so we want to get started with our candidate forum. I'm Kathy Long, the president of the League of Women Voters of Estes Park, and I want to welcome you this evening to our live candidate forum for the Hospital District Board. The League sponsors events like this one tonight to provide information that will help all of us to be better informed and active citizens of the Estes Valley. So before we get started with the forum, please silence your phones. This meeting is being recorded. And tonight's moderator will be Robin Converse. Robin is our voter service director, and she will give us the guidelines for this evening. Thank you.
We welcome you all here this evening and thank the candidates participating in the forum, as well as your willingness to serve our community as candidates for the Park Hospital District Board of Directors. I'd like to introduce each candidate in alphabetical order. We have incumbent Steve Alper, Bridget Faust, Todd Nardi, incumbent Bill Pinkham, and Dr. Corey Workman. I will ask questions based on concerns submitted by the public and members of the League of Women Voters of Estes Park. In keeping with the goodwill of the citizens of this Estes Valley community, we know that the candidates will be respectful in their responses and statements. Candidates have not been given the questions ahead of time. The order of seating was randomly chosen, and the first candidate to give his 2-minute opening statement was also randomly chosen. Subsequently, the first candidate that spoke will then be the last to answer the next question, and so on. I will call on you when it is your turn. Candidates, you may ask me to repeat a question. You will have 1 minute to answer each question. We have a timekeeper who will hold up a card showing 1 minute after 1 minute through your 2-minute opening statements, and then with the questions, he'll hold up a card showing 15 seconds is left and then stop, and you may finish your sentence. Okay. So we're going to start with the 2-minute opening statement. I'm sorry, I've neglected to mention John Meissner is also a candidate, and he is not here this evening. So we're going to start with Todd Nardi with your 2-minute opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. It's nice to see an audience of people that care about this community as I do. My name is Todd Nardi. I'm an EMT. I've been an EMT for 17 years. Working in emergency medicine has been a passion of mine. I've worked in a lot of different roles as an emergency medical technician and have held board positions. Patient experience is something that I have always looked at. And to have happy patients, you have to have happy staff, making it a good experience in some of the worst times of a person's life. I enjoy interacting with people. I interact with people very well. I work in medicine. I'm on the ground floor, and I've always been on the ground floor as a first responder, as an emergency room technician, as a intake medic at a jail, at a detox. I'm blessed. I'm a U.S. Marine, former U.S. Marine, who, because of my veteran status, I've been able to move around and have a lot of different experiences in a lot of different areas of emergency medicine. I currently work at a family practice here in Estes Park. I've been here 2 years. I see patients on a daily basis with a primary care provider here. I'm in touch with the community, and I listen to what their good things are, and I listen to what the bad things are. I like to take the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth. I like to listen to what the people have to say, and then I like to take it to this board of directors to give Estes Park the best possible health care available. It's not easy, and this is not an easy time to be in healthcare. So bringing my knowledge to the table is something I'm very excited about. I look forward to sharing, and again, thank you for having me here tonight.
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Steve Alper with his opening statement.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. I was just looking through some stuff the other day, and I saw the ad I wrote 3 years ago when I ran for this. And what it said was facilitating excellent health care in a sustainable manner. The other thing it said was over 25 years of healthcare administration experience. Being on the board the last 3 years, I think the primary thing that we've been doing is really trying to maintain and keep quality health care and do so in a sustainable fashion. And it's been quite a ride over the last 3 years. Fires, COVID, the healthcare and hospital industry facing a series of challenges. And during these 3 years, we've had to make a number of very difficult and at times very painful decisions, such as closing the nursing home, closing OB services, closing inpatient pediatric care. But at the same time, we made all of those changes to really increase the viability and sustainability of the hospital. And in addition to that, we expanded on services, added some in family practice, internal medicine, replaced key positions like ophthalmology, and really did a lot of work in terms of improving the culture and operations of the hospital. The 25 years of healthcare experience has to do with that basically I was in charge of a eye institute at an academic medical center. Basically, revenues the same as Estes Park Health, 80,000 patient visits per year, 4,000 surgeries, about 300 employees. And I think that experience really has helped me evaluate the decisions we have to make in an intelligent manner and also contribute.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from Corey next.
Thank you all for being here, and for the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum, and for allowing us to have an opportunity to express our ideas to you and to give you an idea of where we're coming from as far as our desire to run for the hospital board. And my name is Corey Workman. I'm an audiologist, and what brought me to Estes Park was about 6 years ago. I purchased a practice here in Estes Park. I've been a working audiologist for about 10 years, and during that time have spent time serving on national committees for audiology. I served on the National Student Academy of Audiology Board for 1 year, or for 2 years. I was also the president of the Colorado Academy of Audiology for a year, and just recently finished a term as president of Sunrise Rotary Club. And I feel like that those experiences gave me a broad view of what it looks like to work with a large group of people and to make decisions that sometimes are uncomfortable and sometimes are difficult. I feel as though the reason that really spurred me to run for the board is trust and transparency. I feel as though that a partnership between the community and the hospital is important for the future, and preserving the ability for the hospital to function and to provide the services that are needed for the residents, but also being able to build a trust that the citizens and residents of Estes Park feel that they can come to the hospital and use those services and feel that connection with the community. Having a strong hospital, having a strong healthcare system in Estes Park allows us to grow, allows us to look for the future. The next generation of Estes Park residents are starting to show up, and we need to think about the next 15 to 20 years of what it's going to look like for people coming to our valley, contributing, and being able to feel as though they can use a healthcare system that they trust and is working very well for them. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and meet with all of you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, would you like to give your 2-minute opening statement?
Is that better? Okay. I've served on the EPH board since 2017 when the former board members all resigned. and the county commissioners actually appointed the board, so I was involved in that process. A lot has transpired since then, and I've been fortunate to continue as a member of the current board. We've worked closely with Vern Sorda and also his management team to understand and effectively address organizational and financial needs and ensure long-term viability as an essential resource to our community. Business experience, I worked for Weyerhaeuser for 40 years, excuse me, in fine paper sales and marketing management, strategic analysis and planning. Retired with no intention of getting involved in anything, and found that I ran for the town board, was elected and served on the town board as trustee, mayor pro tem, and then ultimately as mayor. After I got through with that, so that's when I got picked to run for the hospital board. I've served on numerous boards in town, and I think that's one of the great things here is the amount of volunteering that this community does to make this a vibrant and exceptional community. Education, Amherst College, Harvard Business School Management and Marketing courses, and Weyerhaeuser Management as well. Military, Captain USAF, retired, and that's it.
Thank you, and we'll hear from Bridget now.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Faust, and tonight I stand here as a candidate for the Board of Directors for the Park Hospital District. I have been working in the healthcare industry for 40 years and about 25 years in healthcare leadership positions, including serving as Chief Operating Officer at the Critical Access Hospital in Colorado. I recently retired from Estes Park Health for my position as the Imaging Director after working 8 years for the hospital, and I truly enjoyed being a part of this great organization and the exceptional staff. My desire to sustain high-quality healthcare provided at Estes Park Health is one of my motivations in running for the board. I'm very passionate about quality and cost-effective healthcare. I'm passionate about our hospital and our community. My other motivation in running for the board is I want to see the hospital succeed. I understand the enormous challenges hospitals are facing. With expenses in the healthcare industry rising and inflation on the rise, the stresses on hospitals are increasing. National workforce shortages, increasing labor cost, declining reimbursement, bringing operating margins down. I believe I would make a positive contribution as a board member with my extensive experience in the healthcare industry and specifically in critical access hospital operations, and my strong desire to ensure that the healthcare needs of the Estes Valley community are met via a system that provides high-quality patient care with compassion and respect to all its customers. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to start our questions. You each have a minute to answer these questions, and we're going to start with Steve for the first question. What Estes Park Health services do you think the community values the most?
I think the emergency room is very important because if there's a life-threatening or critical emergency, it's important to get that treated very rapidly. So I place a high amount of importance on maintaining the emergency room and making sure it has the right equipment, the right staff, and all the resources it needs. I also think that having primary care here is extremely important so that people can form a relationship with a primary care doctor. They can do so without going down valley. And especially with folks who might have a chronic illness or might have some type of health condition that needs monitoring, a lot of times the primary care physician acts as the manager in terms of communication with the different specialists and making sure that all the care needs are being met.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, next we'll hear from Corey.
I feel that the most important things that citizens would like, or residents in Estes Park would like to see, would be primary care and urgent care with emergency department as well. I feel like primary care allows you to build a trusting relationship with the healthcare system. They're kind of the gateway to getting into the other services that would be available, whether it be to refer to rehab type facility for physical therapy or something along those lines as well. That helps to also anchor that patient to the hospital, because now they have that strong relationship with their primary care physician. I think that when it comes to younger families, having access to OBGYN care and birth care would be important as well. That has been expressed to me by others, and I would hope that there would be a way forward with those avenues of care as well.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Bill. Bill, can I ask you to try to speak a bit louder, please?
My wife told me that you would say that. Is that better? Okay, all right. We're not the normal hospital. We provide all kinds of services to people that come here to visit that don't expect to end up in a hospital. Some of them come in as emergencies. There are all types of things that happen in the national park. So it's very unusual for a community this size to have to provide the types and range of services that we provide. To be able to do that, and also to have the relationships down below with the other medical hospitals and agencies and specialists, I think is very unique. I think we're very fortunate to have that.
Thank you. Bridget, you're next.
I also believe that the emergency department is probably the most valuable service because we do have a lot of events like stroke, heart attacks, and it would be very hard for people to drive down the hill or maybe die in the canyon. So I think going to the emergency room, being stabilized, taken care of, and shipped out is the really immediate response to any of those events. And as I know from working in the hospital, we have saved many, many lives and visitors and all kinds of people using the emergency room for the urgent care. A good, solid primary care offices also are very important because you need to, take care and maintain your health, and you don't want to drive miles to see your physician for any smaller things like sore throats or anything like that. So I think those two, primary care and urgent care, is the most important to keep. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd?
Yes, thank you.
Your turn.
Thank you very much. Yes, I believe in the emergency department as well, being in emergency medicine for a long time. However, it starts before that. It starts with EMS response. We have an emergency medical response team, paramedics, EMTs, that I've engaged with. I work for Glen Haven Fire Department as a volunteer, and I've seen how it's, you can't save them in the field, but we have to get them to the emergency room to get them great service, proper equipment, proper staffing. It makes a huge difference in the outcomes. Also, I feel that inpatient beds, I think I got a number this morning of 20 inpatient beds. That's a small number, and that's a moneymaker. Inpatient beds could be a very good financial resource, so I want to see maybe that grow a little bit. Working with the intra-agencies, working with Estes Park Fire, working with Glen Haven Fire to grow. Primary care is growing in this town. I'm watching it firsthand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, for many decades, Estes Park Health increased services, buildings, equipment, and staff. Over the past 2 to 3 years, Estes Park Health began reducing services and building use and staff. With this trend, can Estes Park Health achieve financial sustainability on its own? please explain. And we're going to start with Corey.
That's a good question. When we see growth, when we see explosive growth, and then we see culling and we see consolidation of what we've grown to, we start to focus in on the core of what keeps the business or the hospital going. Do I think that the hospital can be financially viable and survive? Absolutely. The services that are there now that we want to keep going, in particular with primary care, emergency department, urgent care, and inpatient services, can keep the hospital sustained and provide an avenue forward for things to continue to function. It comes down to, in a lot of cases, I think in my mind, of utilization of residents coming to the hospital and utilizing the services that are available to them there. And that partnership together, I think, is what can keep the hospital going financially.
Thank you. Next is Bill.
Can you hear me? Okay. I think there are some things that we can do up here, some things that we shouldn't be doing just simply because we don't have the volume to be able to sustain that. So we've started shedding things that didn't make sense for us or don't make sense for us. We're looking at other opportunities to bring medical services to town that are needed here that we're not currently providing. And if we get together with another medical agency, then we'll be looking at those things where the combined services will be of benefit to this community, providing what we don't provide today.
Thank you. Bridget?
Well, financial sustainability has to be developed via a strategic plan. We have to see what the revenues, financial sustainability has to be outlined via a strategic plan, and financial goals have to be set. The hospital will know what the income statement is. Are we making enough money to cover out our expenses, or do the expenses exceed the revenue? And where are the problems? Don't we have enough volume? Do patients go elsewhere? Or what are the issues that we don't bring enough money to make the hospital financially sustainability? So a strategic plan is important. Financial goals are important. Bringing additional services could help if the community will use those services. By my understanding, some people still don't use the hospital and they go somewhere else. And you know, community commitment is the highest revenue generator for a critical access hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd, it's your turn.
Thank you. Unfortunately or fortunately, this is a customer service business. We have to have people coming to the hospital with trust and confidence that they're going to get the best health care possible. I do see people go down the hill, prefer to go down the hill. I don't like that. I want them to stay here in this community, get the help that they need, the services they need, and feel comfortable with it. Getting discharged with a good plan. Getting discharged and saying, hey, that was great care. And I ask these people out in the community, I ask them, how did they treat you at EPH? How was your experience? And I get the good, and I get the bad, and I get the ugly. So I really have a good knowledge of it. I want to listen to the needs of the residents, because really people like to be heard, and I want to hear them. I want to hear what they have to say and how we can make this a better, viable hospital. Like I said, it's customer service. Heads in is money in. I worked for Discovery Channel on a TV show, and they once said it takes $5 million to make 3. You have to put money, invest in this community so that we can really provide that great service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Steve, we can hear from you.
Yeah, regarding financial viability, difficult, and there's some threats that have to do with insurance networks and healthcare systems developing their own insurance product that could essentially really compromise the finances of Estes Park Health. So you really need to be aware of that there are some things going on in terms of the insurance industry that really can cause significant negatives for the financial situation of Estes Park Health. But this whole thing of affiliation or not has a lot more to do than finances. Large healthcare systems have enormous intellectual capital that Estes Park Health really could benefit from. So when looking at quality healthcare, yes, finances is part of it. Estes Park has some issues looking down the road regarding finances, but this intellectual capital piece, I think, is a larger piece.
Thank you. Okay, next question. If Estes Park Health were to affiliate with a larger healthcare system, what could be the positive financial and clinical effects for Estes Park Health? And we'd like Bill to answer first.
I think the answer to that depends upon who's out there, who you can tie in with, what they offer. There are challenges to this. It's not just find somebody that can do the things that we're not doing. So there will be lengthy meetings, discussions as we go through that process.
Thank you, Bill. Bridget?
If Estes Park Health would affiliate or joint venture with a larger facility, it would gain more security by having that affiliation with a larger and stable organization. Estes Park would have greater buying power and would get supplies at reduced cost. It would have greater access to capital resources, and it would be able to use the support services of the larger facility. On the clinical side, patients would have access to more advanced technology, and they would have access to more specialty clinic or care. The downside is back office functions maybe would be streamlined by the larger organization, and that would mean a potential loss of employees for the hospital. But overall, I think it would keep the doors open if the hospital cannot meet its final obligation on its own. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd?
Yes, thank you. You largen the pool, right? You get a larger pool with more water in it, and more people can swim in it. And we can really make a difference with resources, which is really what it comes down to is money. Staff. We have to have a good staff on here. Like I said, it's a customer service business. And then we'll see some growth. It might not be as quick as we want it to be. There's a lot of changes that, I've seen happen just at the primary care here, but they dumped money into it. They put money into it so that we could grow. So we love to see growth in our healthcare system. I think it was a couple good points made here. We need to remember we need to put personalities aside. It's principle over personalities. And I think that people can butt heads, we can have good discussions, but we have options, and we need to remember what the common theme is. And that is to help others on a daily basis, even if it's just holding a hand to getting them to a higher level of care with flight. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, so the big negative is potential loss of control and a healthcare system coming in and potentially shutting things down or doing things that really don't serve the need of the community, but rather serve their financial needs. So that's really a negative that has happened, and on the board, as it's public that we are in discussions, we've done a number of things to ensure that doesn't happen. The positives, like I referenced before, has to do with the enormous intellectual capital and resources a larger system has. People have referenced that in terms of, best practices, technology, flexibility in staffing, better handoffs in terms of specialty care. And I haven't even talked about back office functions such as IT, revenue cycle, et cetera.
Thank you. And Corey, we'll like to hear from you.
Yes. I like the reference that Todd made about a bigger pool. More people can swim in it. I think that the pros here are technology, healthcare technology in particular, has been accelerated since COVID. The acceleration toward using more remote systems, telehealth in particular. I've seen that in my own profession where things that we didn't think we could do over telehealth previously, we're now doing, and we're doing quite well. The association with a larger healthcare system would provide that money, that capital. The technology may already be in place, and we can take advantage of it to expand and provide avenues to provide better service, better customer service, quicker experiences, more quality experiences to patients as they come to the hospital. I think that the way you survive, and in particular with healthcare, is you keep up with the changes in technology, and technology is changing extremely quickly. And that takes capital, that takes money to be able to stay with those things.
Thank you. Okay, next question. What assets does Estes Park Health have that could be a benefit to a larger healthcare system? And we'll start with Bridget.
Well,
Your mic, please.
I'm not sure about particular assets, what the Estes Park Health could offer to a larger facility. If there would be a affiliation, what I would see the role of Estes Park Health would be a patient feeder hospital to the larger organization. So the larger organization most likely would benefit from our referrals we send to the larger facility for a higher acuity of care and not elsewhere. Other assets, potentially staff sharing, but I don't believe that would be very wise. The only thing I could think that the Estes Park Health would be like a feeder facility to send patients to the larger organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, thank you. Assets, I think that Estes Park has. This is a community that I believe we need to work as a team. I was in an interview this morning, and a gentleman used the word a rivalry. I don't like to hear rivalry between Banner, Centura, UC Health, Estes Park Health. That is not effective healthcare. When people are unsure what they're thinking about the other place, and then you have personalities back coming in, and we're forgetting about the principles, and that's helping people. So I like teamwork. I learned long ago to ask for help. Estes Park Health has a good facility. They have good people here in town. They have great residents. We need to work as a team to help people. I couldn't do it alone. That's why we have 2 people on an ambulance. That's why we have 6 hands is better than 2, 4. We need to all work as a team to give this community the best health care possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
It's market share. It's a clear answer. It's market share that is the asset. It's basically more revenue because more people would be in that system using its services. Right now, people might go to Estes Park Health. We use primarily UHC for most of our referrals, but some we don't. But really, the reason a larger system would want us would be for all the revenue that comes from all the procedures and all the inpatient stays, outpatient visits that would be part of them. So that would be the largest asset.
Thank you. And Corey?
I would agree that the patient base is the asset. It's the people, the relationship that they would have immediately coming into Estes Park. They've already got great facility, great staff, great people already working in the hospital, and they come and are able to take advantage of that and bring that revenue to their organization. I think that Estes Park Health is extremely valuable. There are great people there. There are great services available to us there. And those can be a great asset to a larger healthcare system. I don't think it's us looking up from the bottom of the well saying, please help us. It's us looking to them saying, let's partner together and improve your organization, improve our organization. That affiliation with local care providers as well, small healthcare providers in town can take advantage and be able to help push that forward as well. And I think probably one of the biggest thing is the great views. I mean, if you come up here and work, you've got beautiful views up here, so why not?
Thank you. Bill?
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. What assets does Estes Park Health have that could be a benefit to a larger healthcare system?
I think we have an extraordinary hospital, and the staffing is outstanding. What we need to do is expand the services that we have here. That we can do that by getting closer to a larger healthcare system that offers a broader range of possibilities. And so we do have great views.
Thank you. Okay, fifth question. If Estes Park Health affiliates with a larger healthcare system, what could be the effects on local influence or governance on independent health practitioners and on the Park Hospital District tax dollars? I'm seeing confused looks.
Todd.
What? Did I say the wrong thing? Okay. Okay. Todd, you get to answer that first question.
Yeah, would you like to repeat it one more time?
All right.
Thank you. Repeat that. Yeah.
All right. If Estes Park,
Yeah.
it's sort of the flip side of, well, not necessarily a flip side of the last question. If Estes Park Health affiliates with a larger healthcare system, what could be the effects on local influence or governance of Estes Park Health, on independent health practitioners here, and on Park Hospital tax dollars?
You know, that's a complicated question. And you know, a lot of people up in the clouds, I call it. There's a lot of people who don't see what's going on the bottom. They come in and they try to take over. So as a board member, we want to have confidence. We want to gain trust, and we want them to listen to us as much as we listen to them. And obviously our incomes are based on listening to the higher ups, the management. But I think that if we can continue to work as a team, as a board, work as a team, as a hospital, provide excellent care, then, you know, if it's not broken, we don't fix it. And if UC Health, if Centura, if Banner sees that we're functioning as a good team, we're making direction, good direction, positive direction, and growth, then, you know, I see it at the family practice. They'll leave us alone a little bit. They cut us a little bit of slack because we are on an island up here. Believe it or not, we are up on an island. And so being on this island, we have to be able to stand up for ourselves and survive. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, the park district thing is really kind of the key issue with the ballot issue that's up, which would, if passed, which would give the hospital district the ability to basically assign the mill levy, it's about $3.6 million a year, if there was to another organization that would stay locally. So that really has to do with the ballot issue that's occurring. Regarding individual practitioners, there's really kind of a scarcity of a lot of independent practitioners. And kind of the feedback we've gotten is that in talking to the systems Don Valley is that they need them. I mean, they're not going to be in jeopardy. And so I think it would be a question if those folks weren't already in that network, that they would need to get into that network.
Thank you. Corey, would you like to take a stab at this question?
I will stab as best as I can here. 25 words or less, correct? Is that what you said? Okay. 24. No, it's my time's up. I think that the important part here with the independent practitioners, and Steve here to my right is correct, that it's about the network. It's about being able to be affiliated and making sure that you have access to that influence and local control. Maybe there may be some changes in our influence and local control over what's going on, but being able to negotiate, being able to work with that healthcare system to fill the needs that we have, and being able to function in a way that maybe they can just kind of leave us alone a little bit and let us do what's needed. For the independent practitioners here in town, I think that it's my priority for sure is to protect them as much as possible so that they can have access to those patients from the hospital and not lose any of that access, given that if there was an affiliation or something that changed that accessibility. And hopefully we would not want that to change so that patients would have the choice to go to who they would like to.
Thank you. Bill?
It's an interesting situation. We are who we are. We have what we have here. There are some services that we can't get here. And I experienced this personally about a month ago, where I had to go to the Valley to get treatment. And it was a life or death type of situation in terms of being able to breathe, being able to eat, fundamental things that if we had that service here, which we did have a while back and has since gone, it would be, I think, a tremendous benefit to this community.
Thank you. Bridget?
Well, I believe an affiliation agreement must be done with proper integration planning. It should align with the hospital's mission, and financial goals or non-financial goals should be set. In regards to the independent practitioner, that would be all a part of the negotiation, and the financial goals where we want to be in 2 or 5 years from now, and see where the larger organization exceeds control over the hospital. We also need to find out or ask the question, how will the governance look like? You know, how will the board look like? Is it a combination board, or is it a solely the other hospital's board? So this question really goes into the planning aspect of an affiliation and to see where we stand, you know, what kind of control Estes Park Health keeps, what we have to relinquish.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? Yes or no, is that allowed? Just about that question, because that question had 3 different components. It had a component about independent practitioners, it had a component about the tax district, and it had a component about governance. And in a minute, each of those deserve at least a minute. So I just wanted to make that comment.
I appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
Thank you all for doing your best. Okay, if the voters reject ballot issue 8A, what do you think should be the next steps for the hospital district in order to remain solvent and operational? And Steve, you get to go first.
Well, the hospital is solvent, and one of the measures we use is how many days of cash we have, which has to do with how many days, if we had no revenue coming in, how many days could the hospital operate? And we're in a safe zone with that. So, if it does not pass, there's no financial or immediate financial jeopardy. And we've developed, we have a strategic plan. We're going along the strategic plan. That would continue in terms of making those changes. And I think in November we would be able to put it up again. So I think that would be the plan.
Thank you. Corey?
As one who's not on the board at the moment, going off of the information that the board has presented to the community, having cash on hand and having ability to continue to operate and not being in immediate financial danger is what I understand. However, with the ballot initiative, as I understand it, allows for multi-year financial agreements and allows for the taxing district and the board to negotiate with these larger groups to bring in those things that may be needed. And so I think there has to be some consideration around that, is that how much help can the hospital obtain from outside influences without the ballot, and how much help can the hospital obtain from outside influences with the ballot issue not passing. And I think those are two things that do need to be taken under consideration.
Thank you. Bill?
I think the two gentlemen have done a good job of responding to that. I liked what Corey just said.
Okay, thank you. Bridget?
Well, if 8A will not pass, in my mind, the hospital needs to tighten its belt some more. It already made decisions on eliminating non-profitable services and cut the workforce, and it eliminated some positions. And now we would have to be tasked with looking where we can do more cost savings without compromising quality of care. So I don't know what the cash on hand is currently. I didn't see any income statement, but we will have to do a very creative strategic plan. And we definitely have to strengthen the trust of the community, so the community will be, Estes Park Health would be the provider of choice for the community in order to gain more revenue. Thanks.
Thank you. Todd?
Yes, thank you. I believe we want to see growth in this community. I say we would call for another vote, and we start educating the residents of this population here. Be transparent. Be open. Tell the people the pros, and also tell them what the cons are. I think the pros would stand on their own merit. I think we don't want to let ego get involved. We want to be positive with our residents, transparent, open, and honest. Because when they find out the truth of maybe some of the benefits, and maybe they don't know, and as a medical professional in this town, I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard a whole lot of publicity in relation to this. And this, I keep myself pretty involved, very involved, and the word isn't getting out. And when the word does get out, it might be some misinformation out there. So we need to make sure that we're getting the information to the public. We're being honest with them, transparent, so they trust us and they can make the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment. Okay, things have gone a little bit more efficiently. We have our last question to ask, but because of the extra time, I'm going to give you all an extra minute for your closing statement. So instead of 1 minute, 2 minutes, and during that extra minute, if you want to comment on anything that's been said, you may do so. And I'll remind you of that when we get to the closing segment. Do any of you have questions about that? Okay. We're going to switch gears here. What are your ideas for the hospital district in attracting and retaining permanent hospital staff, such as permanent housing or child care or other benefits? And we're going to start with Corey.
The simple answer to that question is yes. Certainly, housing, childcare comes up all the time for working families, and the ability to not only work in this beautiful place, but also be able to live here. But other benefits that can come along with that as well are making sure that pay is competitive, making sure that the benefits that are offered to the to the employees of the hospital are competitive as well. And finding ways to build that culture of a team so that when they're coming to work with the people that they enjoy working with, and that team environment helps them to not only be able to reach out to their friends around them if they need something, but it helps to build that community out from inside the hospital as well. So the answer to the question on the housing and childcare issue is absolutely yes. There needs to be something there, and there are things happening, and I hope to see those go through soon.
Thank you. I'm going to repeat the question because it was rather long. What are your ideas for the hospital district in attracting and retaining permanent hospital staff, such as permanent housing, childcare, and other benefits? Bill?
Interesting. Childcare is a huge issue here. And it's interesting because we get young couples that come here, or a young person that comes to go to work, gets married, has a child, and then the question is, what happens in terms of childcare and its availability, or do they end up having to go to the valley to get the type of care for their kids and as the kids grow up, so there's continual movement from an employee standpoint here in terms of the people that come here to work and are going to stay here. So we have to be very careful in our selection of candidates for the hospital.
Thank you. Bridget?
Yes, childcare and housing is an issue. When I used to run the X-ray department, I had very promising applicants, and after they explored housing and childcare, they called me up and said, "I really like to work for you guys, but you don't have any affordable housing available, and the childcare has a long waiting list, so we will not be able, to join your workforce." In regards to retaining employees, in my mind, I say every day should be Employee Appreciation Day. We need to give employees a voice. They need to feel a part of a team. We need to empower employees. We need to share the goals and the strategic plan, and we need to create true teamwork. So when the word gets out that Estes Park is a wonderful place to work, we hopefully will get applicants, and we will retain the employees we have.
Thank you. Todd?
Yes, thank you. Incentive to come up here. This is it's a rough drive for some of my coworkers. You have to also have the incentive to stay here. I've heard housing disasters, but what I feel would be a real positive here is when people come to work and work with the team that we have available, they have fun and they help others. So you have to make a good team where it's not, there's no drama, it's about the principles, right? I mentioned that, but also the personalities you bring in. I'd like to make this a learning facility. I know when I was at a level 1 trauma center in Tucson, Arizona, it was a learning hospital or a teaching hospital. And I was very teachable at that time. So I stood there, I enjoyed going to work and learning and having hands-on with new things. New nurses, they're coming out. New EMTs, they're everywhere. New providers, that's a whole different story, and I don't really get involved with that. But I know there's some young professionals with a passion for medicine out there that want to work and want to help others. We need to bring them up here. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so some of the things large systems are doing right now is they're providing housing, and they're providing child care services. So that, I'm just going to throw that out there. But could be a potential positive for affiliating with someone larger. The town has struggled with these for years. There have been a lot of smarter people than me working hard on this issue, and we're still struggling with it. I will say that that the hospital did make wages competitive. I think it was in 2022 about a $3 million cost. So the hospital is doing that and other things to improve the culture over there.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I lost my order here. Obviously, Corey, you're next.
Do I get to answer again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I really got lost. We're done with that.
Sorry, I couldn't
Okay.
help myself.
I do have, if you'll give me a moment, I do have one more question, which we have time for.
Which one?
Uh, okay, we'll start. Okay, we're going to start with Bill. This relates to the last question. Do you believe offering professional grade housing to staff is possible by the hospital district, feasible by the hospital district in any way? Do you have ideas about that? Why or why not?
I'm not sure that this is the appropriate answer, but I'm on the Housing Authority Board. And so consequently, we're looking at the population needs here. And there's a question of where's the property, what can be done on it, what is affordable, and who are the customers. So there is a lot of activity that's taking place, and the hospital board meets on a monthly basis to discuss what the current potentials are in terms of properties that we can work with.
Thank you. I'll repeat the question. Do you believe offering professional grade housing to staff is possible or feasible from the hospital district itself having a role in that? Why or why not?
I think there certainly needs to be communication between the hospital and both the hospital, the town, and the housing authority in terms of making sure that housing is available for hospital employees.
Okay, thank you. Bridget?
Yeah, I agree.
Your mic? Thank you.
I agree. Depends on availability. You know, I mean, we would love to house employees, and we do have some in-house, in the hospital, some housing short-term for overnight call and stuff. But long-term housing, it all depends on the housing availability of the town of Estes Park, you know, and if that is available, or we have to be building more in order to attract employees and to house employees.
Todd?
Thank you. Yes, housing is huge. I don't think currently it can be done. It would have been done, right? We know that we need to supply some housing for these people. I know the EMS staff has some housing available to them as I've been talking to them. We need money to make money. That's a large expense. If we add it to the negotiations with whatever entity we want to bring and team up with, that'd be a great negotiation topic to bring up with them. I think that we need to retain staff. We need to make staff a priority here. Like I said, it is a customer service business, and if we don't treat the customer with respect and dignity, professionalism, it all goes out the window. Nobody wants to come to Estes Park Health. Then what do we do then? Housing is going to be a big issue there, and I'm all for having some young people come in here and get some housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I think really working on alignment on this issue with the hospital, with the housing authority in the town, and whatever might be the appropriate agency, and that might be the housing authority in the county, would be the best solution for that. I think the amount of cost to the hospital at this time would be prohibitive.
Thank you. And Corey?
I agree. I think the cost element of that is something that would really have to be looked at. And do we want to? It would be a fine balance. Do we house at the expense of services, or do we find a solution partnering with the housing authority, with the town, with the county, with whoever we can? I think it's not a matter of. It's also a bit of a matter of space, of availability of units, and availability of homes, and availability of places to build as well. The one thing about the Estes Valley is that we don't have an unlimited amount of land to build on. And in looking at that, even if we did have unlimited amounts of land to build on, building costs and housing costs are accelerating and going up quite quickly, given inflation and those kinds of things, and that may be a cost that might not be may not be feasible.
Thank you. Okay, now you each have 2 minutes for your closing statements, and instead of being random, we're going to go in alphabetical order. But if you want to hand over your 2 minutes to someone else, Steve, go ahead. Again, I'm sorry. Again, you can comment on other things that have been said during the evening, either directed at me or whatever else might have been said. So go ahead.
First, I'd like to thank the League for doing this. I think this is very important that voters get to hear all the candidates so that folks can make an informed decision. And thank you all who are either watching this or are here tonight. So I appreciate that. I've spent a lot of time in working with patients, starting off as a psychologist, and then kind of getting into healthcare administration, and getting up to, like I said before, running an eye institute where we were doing a lot of business. And my goal there was, what I was really trying to do was to make it simple. And I wanted people to feel better when they left than when they came in. That was what I was trying to do. And it was like, what needs to occur? What do we have to do operationally, strategically, financially in order to achieve it? And we did it. We were always over 90 percentile in patient satisfaction. We always were in the top tier of employee and physician satisfaction. We were in ophthalmology. Ophthalmology makes a lot of money. So, but we were always in the top 2 or 3 most profitable departments, both in the hospital and the medical school. And really a foundation of that was with the staff and the physicians, and really figuring out to staff what we can do that would support them feeling autonomous, having meaning in their work, and also giving them opportunities to grow. So am I done? Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Bridget.
I also would like to thank the League of Women's Voters for organizing tonight's event. And I want to thank everyone for coming out and listening. The Estes Park Health mission statement states, "We exist to make a positive difference in the health and well-being of our reserve." Utilizing my experience and my high level of integrity, I hope that my presence on the board would help to move that mission on a forward path to success. And I would be honored in investing my time and my energy in serving on the board of directors for the Park Health Hospital District. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Next is Todd.
I can't see the name, so I got surprised there, but that's okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you, everybody, for coming out here. Would I have liked to seen this room full tonight? Yes. Is there a way we can do that? Yes, we can start communicating with this community. We need to listen to what the people need here and do it in a way that is non-invasive, that makes them know that we care about them and care about this community. I have been a medical professional for 17 years. I have a passion for helping others. Do I have a passion for the financial side of this? No. The insurance side of this? No. But do I think I could bring a perspective to the board that is from the ground floor? I've driven in ambulances. I've driven to hospitals where I've delivered higher level of care and made a difference. And I used to ask myself, I used to work at a teaching hospital. I used to ask myself, did I make a difference today? And I used to ask these young resident doctors the same thing. Did you make a difference today? Some of them would jump right up and say, yes, I made a difference. Some of them would have to think about it. And some of them just bowed their heads down and they walked away. This is a tough business. We don't get everything we need exactly when we want it. But do we have to adapt and overcome some situations? Do we have to communicate these situations with each other as board members, as residents, as medical professionals? Yes, I love being on the ground floor of medicine. I love being able to say, yes, I made a difference in this community. This community called me. I was going to turn down the job that I have now, but I drove over that hill. I saw that sign. I saw the growth that my company was putting into this community, and I said, I want to be a part of it. Here I am. I'd like to be a part of it. I'm just me, and I do my little part, but I think I make a difference. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Bill.
I've seen tremendous changes since I first got on the hospital board. That's when the county commissioners got involved in appointing the board, basically. And what I've seen is continuous improvement. And initially, it was like meeting a date at a first dance in terms of who are these people, how do things work, and so forth. We went through some very difficult years, and we've made a great transition, and I think Vern Sarda is key to that, and the staff that he's put together, his key management team. And they've been great to work with. We have a really outstanding board. Some of the members are here tonight. And I'd like to continue the work that we've been doing. I think that we can make a difference. And I'm sorry that Diane Muno is no longer going to be on the board. She did a wonderful job for us.
Thank you. And Corey, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting together this forum, for your professionalism, and for the organization, the very good organization. I appreciate the comments also from my fellow candidates, and I've been taking some notes and learning some things during the forum, which I think is awesome. I spend most of my professional life during the day improving communication and connection. I spend most of my time trying to get people to be able to hear and understand each other better. That's why I want to be on the hospital board. We need trust, we need transparency, we need better connection to the community, and it has to be a partnership. As the hospital board makes decisions to improve access to healthcare in Estes Park, we have to have that partnership with our residents in Estes Park to utilize those services here. It comes down to customer service. It comes down to experience. It comes down to making the case that Estes Park Health, for the services that we provide, is the best place for you to go. I want to have that connection with the community. I want to be able to be part of building that connection with the community so that Estes Park Health will be strong for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And the way that I feel like I can contribute to that is bringing the experiences that I have as a healthcare provider myself, but also the experiences that I've had in working in national organizations and local organizations to connecting people together, bringing in resources from people who have various backgrounds to be able to put together the whole that is greater than the individual parts. I would love the privilege to serve on the board and see that vision through. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Candidates, thank you again for giving the citizens of the Estes Valley an opportunity to learn about you and the hospital district. Audience, thank you for attending tonight and for staying involved in our community. This forum was recorded and will be available from our League's website in a day or two. The League will host one more election event this Saturday, April 15th, with a Zoom coffee. You can register on our website, www.lwv-estespark.org. This Saturday's program will feature David Beatty, the president of the board of the Park Hospital District, and Vern Sarda, who is the CEO of the hospital district, and responding to questions. They will both be responding to questions about ballot issue 8A, asking voters to allow the hospital district to enter into negotiations for a long-term affiliation with a larger hospital system. It doesn't cost anything, but we ask you to register so that we can send you the link for the Zoom coffee. How are you going to vote in the Park Hospital District election? You should be getting your ballots, just its own ballot, sometime in the next week. You sign the matching envelope and you can mail it with a first-class stamp, or you can drop it off at the hospital. And the last day to do that is Election Day, Tuesday, May 2nd, until 7 p.m. And that's what I have. And I want to apologize for the microphone pinging all the time. I don't know what causes that, but thank you for bearing with us this evening on that. Kathy, you have, oh, okay.
I want to thank. So thank you all here in the audience for being here this evening. Thanks for the candidates for their participation. Thank you to Robin and Linnea for their preparation of the questions. And most of all, spread the word. So if you each talk to 2 or 4 or 5 others and let them know that this recording is available, and actually the recording of all of our events that are Zoom coffees are available as well on our website. So we want to get the word out about these district elections. Each one is unique and set up a little differently. So help us to get the word out, and thank you for being here tonight.